And I had a recent experience where I went hiking with a friend of mine, and it was really foggy, and we were like, it'll be fine, because the view, I mean, the pictures looked amazing, so we were like, we are going there. But it was a little foggy, and we're like, I'm sure it'll be gone by the time we get up there. So we just keep going up the mountain, and then we get to this point where it's like you can keep going up, or you just accept that you're not gonna see anything and you go down. And we're like, no, I think we can get just past the fog. I think we're really close. And we
can do it, come on.
And we saw these people that were at the base of that, division in the trail, and they're like, you guys are gonna keep going up? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, you're brave. And we're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's not so safe, but we just kept going. And finally we reached a point where like, okay, once we see snow, that's when we'll turn back. and we did, and the fog was still there. So we're like, okay, we just gotta accept it. Today was not a clear day, and that's fine. So we start walking back, and then my friend's like, Ale, this doesn't look familiar. We didn't walk through this sandy stuff on our way up. And at this point, we had maybe like 30 or 40 yards of visibility. So, I mean, we could literally only see the path right in front of us. We couldn't get our bearings. And I'm like, it was a moment of fear, like, oh my gosh, those people try to warn us, we are gonna get lost in the mountain. And then like, her family came to my mind, my family. It's like these 1,000 thoughts started rushing in. And then all of a sudden it was like that, okay, you have to decide how you're gonna face this moment. And it was like, no, let's turn this around. If I start worrying, that's not gonna help me. That's, number one rule is don't panic, which I was starting to. And so all of a sudden, then I got this really positive energy. And, at this point we were pretty tired, but I was like, no, we're right here. We're about to find the path. I know it. Let's go up to those rocks. Those look familiar. And, and at this point I was kind of like not sure if they looked familiar or not, but I was like, it's gonna be fine. And we get there, we start walking, and then my friend is like, oh, I see the trail. And we got so excited. So we got back on the trail and we were able to get down the mountain. But I think that moment was just so key in choosing, that, how are you going to react to this life situation? Because, we could have just freaked out and be like, we're lost. The sun was coming down. And so I think that was, for me, that was an example in my life that every moment, you have that choice. How are you going to react? How are you going to face this? What tools are you going to resort to and get from your toolbox to face this challenge? So, yes.
What an incredible story. And I'm glad you didn't get lost in the mountains. I hadn't heard that story yet. So I'm sitting here going, ah.
Yes, I know. That was only like 2 months ago. And yeah, there was so much appreciation when we found the path and just being like, okay, we're fine, which, we hadn't been climbing that long, but we're not experts. So to us, it felt like forever. But then once we found the way, then it was fine. But yes, it was a great, great experience.
But isn't that the way of life sometimes, though? Like you veer off path, thinking, oh, I can do this. I'll be fine. Everyone's telling me that, like, you might want to think about that. Right. But we do it anyway. Yes. And it's okay. And it's how we adapt to that, the choices that you make, as you said, that will either lead us back to the path we chose or keep us lost. So That's an amazing story just for life itself.
Right. And I think, I was so much more, I gained so much more by having lived through that than if I just turned back and said, oh, today wasn't the day. But having lived that extra adventure, that just added so much more to my life that, even if people, of course, we're sitting here talking about it, so it was fine. But even if people are like, no, don't go there. And, I'm not saying, take irresponsible risks, but if there's something that you feel called to, then you can explore it, maybe be a little smarter about leaving a trail behind you, but
probably some breadcrumbs back.
Yeah. But for me, that's what I meant when I said, I learned through experience, and I think it was much more powerful having lived that.